Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah. Man.
I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. While Mike Washington is out on assignment, I'm here in Philadelphia looking for him. So y'all let me know if y'all see him. We'll see if we can get it straight here. Make sure I get my look here on television, right? Streaming platform. With that being said, as we get into it, we have another good show that we were breaking down. You see that we didn't have a indie report yesterday, so we found a way to sneak Dave back in here to make sure he gets his time allotment appropriately. So we appreciate him joining us. And then we got Wilton Jackson II, making sure that he does what he needs to do. We only have Charles Bishop for a segment because he's a big timer now. He has other duties. Our checks do not weigh as big as his. So let me get it appropriately so we get into it. Welcome to episode 744 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From the NEIA to the NCAA, we share insights on the HBCU information, on HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. Quite simply, we just call it HBCU sports pedagogy. With that being said, I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Charles Bishop, as I said, Wilton Jackson II, as well as David Rhodes. As we continue to push through it, you know how we do it. We got to give a shout out to the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Give me a moment of privilege. We have this big text chain where we have a lot of alphas that are connected. Everybody in the text chain for HBCU across SWAC, across Houston, Tillerson, and all in between in terms of that. And we just chop it on world issues, folks that we connected and still in the family and stuff like that. So a lot of folks, particularly Alan, Joe Clay, Charles, we watch Dr. Greg Carr. So I'm here in Philadelphia at the conference, taking some time here to look at the Black Male Educators Convening. One of the guys that we chop it up and really offended to, it happens to be a brother alpha as well, is Dr. Greg Carr, African American Studies at Howard University. I've been chasing this brother for about 5 years. So if y'all allow me to do this, I got to take this little time. For about 5 years, just to introduce myself and how much I respect the work he's doing. I've utilized it in the classroom after I moved from one paradigm. As you grow academically, you continue to move in terms of using sports and using the Africana Studies framework to deliver that social versus the governance. And you probably hear it in some of the things I talk about here and there. Hear me frame that. I've been chasing him a little 5 years, went to Howard University, was excited, just knew I was going to go over to his office, just pop up. At that time, they were doing construction where Africana Studies at Howard University. So they were working at home. So I missed him a couple of times. And I came here last year to do some work. I couldn't get in because of the work I'm doing at Texas Southern University early. But this time I was like, I'm getting there early, I'm get there. So I come up and just want to introduce myself. And he says, Dr. Cavil, before or as I'm trying to get out my name, Kenyatta Cavil, and say everything, he say, Dr. Cavil. I'm like, what is going on here? He said, yeah, I say my name. He said, no, I know you. You do the HBC Sports Lab show on YouTube. I watch you all the time. Man, I hadn't been more of a cheerleader, I don't think, ever in my life. And I was like, wow. And he's like, you got to exchange numbers. So, man, so he said, we're going to have to chop it up. So I had to put that out there. So, brother, Dr. Greg Carr, just want to say appreciate you, everything, the work that you're doing, and certainly trying to make sure that we push things forward. And you utilizing that framework and sharing it with the world, myself, means everything. And the graciousness that you had, got a chance to see the panel that they were on. All of them were extremely knowledgeable in terms of what that looks like. So get a chance, I'll share more about the panel, but let's move on. How's everybody doing today?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well.
Good stuff. Dave, how are you?
Likewise, I'm doing excellent, man. It's been a good week. This is the last work day of the week. I only got to work one day next week, so I can't complain one bit.
Yeah, that's always good. Wilton?
I'm doing good, Doc. Excited about these games coming up this weekend on both fronts, playoffs and regular season for the SWAC and MEAC too.
Yeah.
Dr. Greg Carr was serious too. Brother Carr was like, so who, Delaware State going to Atlanta? He said, Jack, don't get it done. I said, man, there's this team at this institution, South Carolina State. They might have something to say with that. He said, well, I'm rolling with you. Whatever you say, I'm going with you. I'm just saying, I'm going to tease it out. Let the guys do their part. But that was hilarious. I was like, man, hadn't had a good feeling like that in a long time. So with that being said, Dave, how are you?
No, I'm doing great, man. I'm not complaining one bit with regards to everything that's going on. These games are going to be awesome this weekend. I am going to Jackson, Auburn. I'm going to the Soul Bowl. I guess the Capital City Classic in Jackson.
Now that's the Soul Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the Soul Bowl. All right, because I have some confusion about that. Thank you. So I am going to the Soul Bowl this weekend, so I'm looking forward to that. And when I first bought the game, when I bought the tickets to the game, I'm thinking this ain't gonna be much of a game. But now there's a lot on the line in this game. Now, Alcorn can play spoilers, and I'm pretty sure that's a beautiful place to be when you know you ain't gonna go anywhere. You can ruin somebody else's day. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I've had to spoil my boy Allen. He going to the Soul Bowl. So if y'all connect, you'll see him with some HBCU Sports Lab gear on, running around there, checking it out. Mike and I, if I can catch him, somewhere in here in Philadelphia, we're supposed to leave Saturday morning. We're going to go down to Orlando to check out Classic.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you'll see about what we do on this show inside the HBCU Sports Lab. And David is part of that now with the Indy Report. You'll see that we like to get around. We like to see the HBCU culture. So not only are we just talking about our institutions, which is obviously important and great, but we really are into understanding whether it's SWAC, MEAC, Indies, right? We're also talking about SIAC, CIAA. We like to see these events so we can tell you not just in terms of what we heard, not just about the great coaches and players and those, whether they own the seats, hot seats, on the ledge, as Charles likes to say. We want to get you inside so you can see. So we're for the people and see you down there. So just getting that down there and letting you know what that looks like. With that being said, let me go to you, Charles. How are you?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. Getting ready to call this Texas Southern women's basketball game here in a few. So here at the HPNE, so things are starting to crank up around the corner. I'm here in the classroom area here of the HPNE, but you can hear the speakers cranking up now. So,
hey, we're gonna let you do your news of the day. And that'll probably take us to our first break. We'll come back over and modify it and bring back Dave and Wilton to make sure that they get a chance to do their news of the day. But we'll let you get the first one out. Let us know your thoughts in terms of where we are with the news of the day.
Oh, sure thing. Well, let's take a look at the SWAC Football Weekly Awards, as the SWAC has tabbed Texas Southern's KJ Cooper and Charles George, Florida A&M's RJ Johnson III, and Jackson State's BJ Washington and Kai Collins, and Alabama State's Deshaun Smoot for SWAC Football Weekly honors as the co-offensive players of the week were KJ Cooper and RJ Johnson. KJ Cooper, he went 17 of 20 for 210 yards and 3 touchdowns in Texas Southern's 35-30 win over Southern. RJ Johnson, he led Florida A&M's passing attack with 299 yards through the air, tossing 3 touchdowns without an interception. The co-defensive players of the week, B.J. Washington finished the game with 3 tackles and a pass breakup while he helped seal the game with less than 30 seconds to play when he picked off a Wildcats pass and ran it back 82 yards for a touchdown. Charles George from Texas Southern, he tallied 8 tackles with a forced fumble and tackle for a loss, pass breakup, and a key fumble recovery in the fourth quarter to help Texas Southern defeat Southern 35-30. The specialist of the week was Kai Collins from Jackson State. He punted 4 times with 3 of those landing inside the 20-yard line. He averaged 37.5 yards per punt with a long of 41 on the day to earn SWAC Specialist of the Week. And the newcomer of the week, Tayshawn Smoot, he improved to 2-0 as star for Alabama State as he contributed 220 yards in Alabama State's 41-3 win over Mississippi Valley. Smoot went 14 of 22 for 190 yards and a touchdown. Also rushed 3 times for 30 yards. And Dr. Cavil, those are your SWAC Players of the Week.
Shout out to the SWAC Players of the Week getting it done. Great job. We're going to take our first break, come back on the other side, let Charles do what he has to do. We're going to come back and chop it up some more with Dave and Wilton and make sure you get your HBCU Sports Lab of the Week, the second edition, as we're back in class. With that, we'll be right back after this first break. Come back on the other side and jump right back into it with a little more news. And we'll start giving you some games of the week. See what these gentlemen think about some of these key matchups on the major division level. We'll be right back after this first break. This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
College football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit the
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. but we have none other than Wilson Jackson II and David L. Rhodes. With that being said, let's get into some more news of the day. Let me start with you, Wilton. What's on your mind for this Thursday?
So, Doc, I'm going to get into some of the MEAC weekly football honors. South Carolina State quarterback William Atkins IV was named the MEAC Offensive Player of the Week. Delaware State's Wayne Favors III was named the Defensive Player of the Week, while South Carolina State's James Reddick II was named Offensive Lineman of the Week. Morgan State's had a player that was named Rookie of the Week, and South Carolina State kicker Nico Cavanilis-Alti was actually earned specialist accolades for this week. William Atkins IV completed 24 of 36 passes for 314 yards and 3 touchdowns, and leading the Bulldogs to a 34-27 win against North Carolina Central. He recorded a long pass of 51 yards and helped guide South Carolina State to his 6th straight win. Wayne Favors III recorded a 91-yard interception return for a touchdown in a win versus Howard. He added 3 tackles, 2 solo, and 1 pass breakup in the one victory. James Reddick II anchored the Bulldogs' offensive line that produced 454 yards of total offense in the win versus North Carolina Central. Raymond Moore III completed 16 of 22 passes for 183 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a win versus Norfolk State. Nico Cavanilis-Alti converted his second 50-yard field goal of the season, the longest in the conference this season, in the Bulldogs' 34-27 win against North Carolina Central. He also connected on a 28-yard attempt and went a perfect 4-4 on PATs. Alti recorded 6 kickoffs for 375 yards, averaging 62.5 yards per kick with 1 touchback. He also accounted for 10 points in the win.
Good stuff. Shout out to those MEAC Players of the Week. It's showtime now. David, what's on your mind in terms of this week?
I want to give a quick shout out to the Lady Aggies volleyball team. They just got their first postseason win today against College of Charleston. They swept them 3-0. They play Hofstra tomorrow in the semifinals of the volleyball tournament. Proud of those ladies. I wanted to give them a quick shout out.
You can do a little more than a quick shout out. That's a big deal.
It is a huge deal. Those ladies have been working hard all season. They've always been preseason. They've always been ranked lower than what they should be. For them to make the postseason 2 straight years and finally get a win in the playoffs is big. Yeah, and I think they got a pretty good shot against Hofstra too. So we should see. If they get the Hofstra, I think they got a shot to win it all.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
You can't be short with that. You got to sneak that last part in there.
Absolutely.
I know how you are. You fine. We love the Aggies on this show. We might give.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I was watching the game. I was getting tense watching it. But they pulled the sweep off. They pulled it off.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let me go back to you, Wilton. What else is on your mind before we move into some of these matchups?
So we had I know we talked about this briefly the other day. I think you might have ended the show with it, Dr. Cavil, but the SWAC announced the SWAC TV regular season lineup for the 2025-2026 women's basketball season. Texas Southern Grambling and Prairie Texas Southern at Grambling and Prairie at Southern will tip off the SWAC women's basketball matchups on SWAC TV on January 1st. The scheduled SWAC TV games is highlighted by several rivalry matchups, including Southern at Grambling State, Alabama A&M at Alabama State, Southern at Jackson State, and Texas Southern at Prairie View. Southern, Alabama A&M, and Mississippi Valley State and Jackson State will close out the regular season slate of SWAC TV games for the league on March 5th. They also released the men's basketball schedule. Prairie View A&M and Grambling State and Alcorn State and Jackson State will tip off SWAC men's basketball matchups on SWAC TV on January 3rd. The schedule is also highlighted by rivalry matchups between Southern and Grambling on January 17th, Alabama A&M and Alabama State also on the 17th, along with Jackson State and FAMU on January 26th, and Texas Southern and Prairie View on January 31st.
Good stuff. Good stuff. You can pull that back up, Roy, in terms of sneaker shop talk. Man, we try to give these folks their own show on Wednesday.
We got to win, though. That's the problem. We got to win, Dr. Cavil. We got to win.
Hey, man. Now all of a sudden, they got something to say. Not too much to celebrate in the world of Tennessee State. I get that. But TSU basketball player Andrew Nkrumah was named OVC Player of the Week. Yeah, let's make sure we get that out there. We go
absolutely.
Y'all bleeding over it. Give you a whole hour, man. Give me a whole hour.
look, man. Parent-teacher conferences, bro. Parent-teacher conferences.
You want to hold hand in the paper talking about you gonna take? No, it's late.
Now I will say this about Tennessee State, man. I need them to beat Charleston Southern this weekend. They got to beat Charleston Southern this weekend. It's imperative.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Anything
else that you want to put out there, Dave?
To piggyback on the SWAC TV, man, I love this. The fact y'all have so many basketball games on the network, that is huge. That is huge, I tell you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that back up because we ended the show with it Tuesday, and I'm glad that Wilton dropped it back in case some folks missed it. And if nothing else, just to talk about the importance, as you talked about, David, that's the next step. And you're talking about like 57 games on the
yes,
please, 55 on the men's side. That's nothing just to shake your head. That's a lot of work, a lot of intentionality. And you talking about providing the inventory necessary for SWAC TV and what we've seen and the interest and the visibility of how you're able to get all these games for football season. If basketball season is anything like that, that is big time. And so I'm glad that you put that back up there. Let's take our next break. We'll come back officially. Go ahead, Dave. You want to add to that?
Yeah, just a quick addition to that. Like, I think the big thing for me is, now that the ladies got their own day, you're going to have multiple days to watch sports. Yeah. Now you don't have to worry about it. You can't say you ain't got no excuse. Yeah. You can just go ahead and turn it in. Tune in. As somebody that had that with A&T with Flo and win women's and men's basketball, that's big. I got 4 days to watch ball.
Now it even makes more sense. And I kind of talked about that as trying to get in multiple windows for television. Viewing of how you spread this out. Now you literally got 3 days of the week where you get to catch SWAC basketball. Women has a showcase all by themselves. The men have a showcase all by themselves. But then you still hold on to the culture in terms of what we've had in the past, which having Saturdays where you have the back-to-back. So it's a win-win in a lot of directions what's taking place. So for those that are not just football heads, which certainly understand how that drives a lot of the passion, but folks that are into it, HBCU sports specific for the SWAC, and more so in terms of basketball, men's and women's. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you pointed that out, both you and Wilton. That being said, let's take our next break. We'll come back on the side. We'll get back into some football business and talk about some of these key matchups to see what these gentlemen think in terms of what to keep your eye on this week in HBCU sports on the gridiron. We'll be right back after this next break.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
College football fans, a champion will rise in Atlanta on December 13th. MEAC champion, SWAC champion, the 10th Cricket Celebration Bowl, crowning an HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year. Returning to Atlanta on December 12th, 4 bands will qualify for the big stage, where 2 national champions will be crowned. Follow us for rankings updates throughout the season, and join us on December 12th for event and ticket information.
Compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Wilton Jackson II and David L. Rowe. The professors are in the building. With that being said, let's get into some of these matchups. We'll start with some major division matchups, and we'll see if we can get into some of these playoffs as well. Big deal. Let's get into this first matchup. Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions 3-7, 2-5 at the number 1 Alabama State Hornets 8-2, 6-1. Can the Golden Lions find a way to close this season on a winning note, or will Alabama State continue to do what they've done all year long and put one more marker on the winning ledger to get closer, essentially where they should end up with a 10-win season, which is nothing to shake your head out? David, what are your thoughts?
I would like to believe that UAPB can make this interesting, but I just don't see a way that they can. And I think we're going to see Alabama State get a 10-win season after going to the Turkey Days Classic. I don't expect this game to be close.
Getting in here talking no, they can't. Wilton, you in agreement?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I love Coach Alonzo Hampton at Arkansas Pine Bluff. I love his energy. But this team, this Alabama State team, is just too talented. I don't see them losing against Arkansas Pine Bluff. They have a lot at stake. They're hoping Jackson State stumbles to potentially, obviously get a berth into the SWAC championship game. So I definitely expect Alabama State, even with their backup quarterback with Tayshawn Smoot, that rushing attack with Holtzclaw and Marcus Harris II, I really expect them to get it going fast. And I definitely think by halftime, this probably won't be a game.
David, we didn't get to do this to you, but you are one of the voters. People don't realize that. I'll put that out there. So let me give you the top 7 in terms of this week. Grambling State Tigers, number 6 North Carolina Central Eagles. Is this? No, that's from a week ago. Let me see where the actual top 7. Yeah, this is right. And number 5 is Delaware State Hornets. At number 4, Prairie View A&M. Number 3, Jackson State Tigers. At number 2, South Carolina State. Number 1, Alabama State. You see, we did get a flip. Everybody stayed in the top 7. We got a couple of folks that got some first place votes that hadn't had them before. And we got a flip from Jackson State to South Carolina State. Where were you in terms of how you think about the top 7?
I would only flip Delaware State and Prairie View.
Okay. So
outside of that, everything is fine to me. Like, I think South Carolina State's earned the right to get the 2. Like, I beat them up pretty bad at the beginning of the season, especially after that Charleston Southern loss, but I think they showed me enough to warrant 2.
Mike and Wilton were talking about on Tuesday that if Jackson State wins and they add a Eastern Division championship, then they would flip and put them number 1 at the conclusion of the season, even though at the time you had the loss to Grambling and Alabama State was continuing to win and on one of the longest winning streaks. Are you holding Alabama State number 1, or does the division championship hold some additional credibility?
If I would say this, Alabama State could potentially fall to 3, but I'll probably put SC State at 1 if they win. If they win the MEAC on Saturday.
I see. So you would push probably Jackson State up.
I have to.
Carolina State wins, you push them to 1. Jackson essentially to 2, and Alabama State falls to 3.
Yeah.
I see that. Did you want any of that, Wilton, or are you going to wait to?
You know where I stand with this.
I'm talking about in terms of, you said Jackson number 1. I think you had him number 1.
Yeah.
But do you keep South Carolina 2, or do you
drop Alabama State to number 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely have Jackson State 1, South Carolina State 2, 3 Alabama State, and then 4 Prairie View.
Good stuff. Dave, not to say that we didn't give him a chance to talk about the top 7. we can get back into the matchups. Go ahead, Dave. You want to add something else?
It's tough, right? Because I think Alabama State's the best team out here right now. Like, I think they're the best team in HBCU sports, but it's just the penalty of losing to Jackson in that close game. And they don't really have a shot for the FCS playoffs, which is unfortunate. Not besides the fact they're Turkey Day Classic, but how they scheduled. So it's just unfortunate.
I'm not surprised. I mean, it's people's vote, so there might be some folks that keep Alabama State at number one. The question is it enough? Is it, how many collective votes will have them at number one? I think you'll have some folks, regardless of what takes place, as long as they win, obviously, this week.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it does, some folks probably will keep Alabama State number one. But it'll be fascinating to see. Obviously, the games on Saturday have to be done. Delaware State still has a chance to shock the world. Prairie View, in a couple of weeks, whether it's Alabama State or Jackson State, they'll have a chance to make their closing statement. So it'll be interesting. It's not over. It's not a far-gone conclusion, as there are bids on the line for the Cricket Celebration Bowl. And then there's a thing that game has to be played as well. So it'll be fascinating stretch, seeing what that looks like as we prepare, get into the holiday, as we move on to 2 versus 5, the big-time matchup. Is we might get a chance to talk about, is it time for multiple postseason events and maybe dream up some matchups. We'll do some AI, take some framework and see what it would look like and people's thoughts if we add on some of those matchups. But with that being said, let's get in this next one. 2 versus 5. This is your former home. You still keep up with a lot of the MEAC. Obviously, you talk about it on HBCU 90. And then on your own show with your indie cohorts. Obviously, most of the focus is there, but there's times when there's crossover games. And sometimes you just need to talk about matchups. But with that being said, sticking with you, David, and we'll come back to Wilton, your closing statements on this. Where are you going with this top 5 matchup, 2 versus 5, the number 2, South Carolina State, the reigning MEAC champions? They have to go on the road. Second consecutive week. They did it last week with a top 7 matchup, defeating North Carolina Central, a grudge match that those two teams seem to have every year the last couple of years. But you have the upstart Delaware State Hornets. Both of them come in at 8-3, 4-0, identical records. Who's going to pick up the Cricket Celebration Bowl ticket?
So before the season started,
nervous, Wilt.
Listen, man, before the season started, I said whoever takes out the school down the road will get a donation from me. So the winner of this game is going to get my donation. I think it's going to probably end up being South Carolina State. I love Delaware State's rushing attack, but they're going up against the number 1 rush defense in the MEAC in South Carolina State. And I'm very concerned about Delaware State defensively, particularly on the pass defense side, because South Carolina State has the number 1 pass offense in the MEAC. Yes. So I'm concerned about that. And I'm also concerned if Bennett can throw the ball when they're going to need to, because I have a feeling that South Carolina State's going to try to stop the run at all costs, because that's what their bread and butter is. Like, Delaware State has double the amount of rushing yards as South Carolina State, like double. That's what they do, right? But we saw them be able to win games even when the run game's not going. But this is going to be a tall task. I'm taking South Carolina State in a close one here.
Good breakdown. Wilton.
Doc.
Chance to kind of put your points on it. Any additional notes that you come with over the next couple of days? Last couple of days that you've had to turn on this. Where are you now as we close it out?
So with this, and he just laid out all the stats. Like, I won't even lay out the stats like that. I just think that this game is going to be a close one. And I definitely think it's going to come down to potentially whichever team has the ball last, in my most humble opinion. Like, because we already know Delaware State is going to try to run the ball, or they're going to attempt to run the ball. But I think South Carolina State is going to definitely be able to kind of tighten up on their run just a little bit. I think for South Carolina State too, though, while we put a lot of pressure, or not necessarily pressure, but we look at a lot of what Atkins has been able to do through the air. If you remember the last week when they beat North Carolina Central, they won off of a touchdown off of a run. So I think with South Carolina State being able to, they can kind of continue to establish that running game to help Atkins. I think this is a no-brainer that South Carolina State is going to win this game. Again, I think it's going to be close, But I think that, this is a Delaware State team that hasn't been in this position before in quite some time. Last time they won a MEAC championship was 2007. Last winning season they had was 2012. So I think that this is a good place where they've gotten to this year. And I've said this before, that this is a Delaware State team that's not going to it's not going to catch anybody by surprise next season. I just think that they don't necessarily get over the hump to win the MEAC this year, but I think it's definitely good experience moving into next year.
Yeah, something about being there. I do agree with you. Yeah, that 1-0 quarterback, Billy Atkins, 300-plus yards against Central. That was a statement. I got to see that live. Boy, did he show up big time for that matchup. Can he do it again this week on the road? This was why he came to South Carolina State, for this opportunity. It should be fascinating to watch.
Yeah,
Let's move on.
Open, man.
Exactly. Let's move on to this number 3 matchup, rivalry game. Dave actually is there. Will be there, I should say, in Jackson for this matchup. Number 3 hosting number 10, as Alcorn State has got up to 5-6, 4-3. Can they get to 500 and ruin everything for Jackson? You talk about a story for the ages, or will they fall to Jackson State, that is the team of the decade, talking about continuing their dominance of the SWAC in so many different ways. It'll be fascinating to see with the second coach that's looking to do back-to-back. And TC was able to add a Celebration Bowl to it, third one in 4 years. Fascinating when you think about this. It'll be a fourth one in 5 years, boy. You talking about a big-time decade. Wilton, I'll let you start it off. As you're in Jackson, what's the tone down there?
This is a game, obviously, Jackson State needs, but outside of the X's and O's, everybody in the state of Mississippi knows what this game means. Soul Bowl, for those that knew what it was before the Soul Bowl, Capital City Classic, that's what I grew up on. But more so than anything, this is the final straw that Jackson State needs in terms of getting to the SWAC championship. When we talked to Coach Taylor this week, he really didn't say he had to say much to his players because they know what's at stake. Another appearance in the SWAC championship game coming up, and so they want to get back. They want to get back to that moment, and obviously ultimately get to a Celebration Bowl. But I think more so than anything, the biggest thing that Jackson State has to do is not hurt themselves. I think even in the wins that they've had this season, they've still had those penalties, and I think that as long as they continue to obviously run the ball, second best rushing attack in the FCS behind Delaware State. You're seeing Jared Lockhart really kind of come into his own, the freshman quarterback that, obviously has stepped in for Jacoby and Morgan. And really we've seen the defense and especially the secondary kind of come on strong. And I think the secondary will be needed again, especially with an emerging quarterback from Alcorn and Jalen Tober, who's really been able to kind of spin it over the last couple of weeks. So as long as Jackson State's defense shows up the way that it needs to, and they're able to run the ball, and Jared Lockhart is able to essentially manage the game and take chances when his number is called, I think Jackson State wins this game for sure.
David, final thoughts? You talking about black, y'all. I'm so black, y'all, when you talk about the Soul Bowl. But everything about this game.
I like Tolbert. I remember when he was at Howard, and he just wasn't. And like, if you talk to Erica Lee, she didn't like the fact that he didn't get that opportunity at Howard. So it's happy to see him playing out of his mind right now. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this game's going to go. I know Jackson State's going to be ready. Jackson State understands it's a rivalry game, and they're going to have to be, because I don't think Alcorn is going to lay down for this one, man. This is going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to this one, and I'm glad that this ended up being a much better game than I thought it was going to be when I bought the tickets, because Alcorn's come a long way.
Yeah, they really are. They're playing some good football. Shout out to coach down there and the players that, resuscitated a season that was going in the wrong direction. But, yeah, a lot of work goes into this. Surprised that people think Jackson State's going to win this easily, even when
I don't think it's going to be easily.
Yeah, it won't be easy.
No.
All that talent they had, even during the prime eras, they came in there and Alcorn State played with them, both home and away. It went down to the stretch. I wouldn't imagine and see this anyway. It's just something about rivalry games, particularly this one. It tends to live up to it. Let's take our next break, come back on the other side. We'll quickly get through a couple of games as we continue to move through it and see what's next. We'll be right back after this next break.
fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a state, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
With over 25 years of serving our communities, Destiny Financial Services, a division of Global Life, is here to help you and your family through difficult times. From cancer care to accidental industries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life, but you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call DFS at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com. That is 877-300-8269, or again, the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year, a title reserved for elite HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 12th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be examined by the toughest judges in the world of college bands. 4 will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us in Atlanta on December 12th for event and ticket information.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We have Professor Rhodes, Professor Jackson II. With that being said, let's get back into it. Let's go into number 4. Number 4, you have Prairie View A&M hosting Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils. There's a couple of times where Delta Devils has hurt the feelings of Prairie View closing out the season. Prairie View is looking a little different this year. They're sitting there at 8-3, 6-1 to close out the season. Clinched everything last week in the 4th spot, but I'm sure they want to go out and get that 9 wins. They hadn't had 9 wins since that magical 2009 season with KJ Black quarterbacking the team, getting it done. And that was under Dr. Henry Frazier III in terms of what he could get done. None other than defensive coordinators putting a lot of work, doing the work that caused the games now. So get into that a little bit. Let me go to you, David. What's your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
With Prairie View wrapping this up, I don't know. Are they going to play all their guys the whole game? With the SWAC championship coming down the pike, right? Because they don't, all due respect to Valley, I don't think they need their starters to be Valley at home. You know, I know there's probably a potential for them to get the home field, but I still don't know if that's worth the squeeze. Because if Jackson loses, then the SWAC championship will go to Prairie View, correct?
Yes. Well, no, Jackson and Alabama State has to lose. Both of them.
Oh, yeah. All right. So that's the case. Then, yeah, I would sit our guys because I don't think Alabama State is losing.
Yeah, I think if anything about Jackson, he's going to come up harder to paint. I think it's part of the game. But he's going to be smart with it. I think they're going to try to get it done early. But importantly, they want to win this game. So it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like in this matchup. So great points you make there. Something to keep your eyes on. How long do players play? And what does Valley do to push Prairie View to play players maybe longer than they would want? Mm-hmm. Wilson, what are your framing of this matchup?
Similar to David, I mean, it's one of those situations where, like, if you don't necessarily have to play your starters the full time, I personally wouldn't. And to his point when he said that, in terms of them getting a win against Mississippi Valley, I absolutely expect Prairie View to get this win against Mississippi Valley. But I think also on the other side of that is you also want to kind of go out and end the regular season with a win and still kind of have some momentum going into that, not the next week, but the following week into the SWAC championship. So just, you don't want your starters to be super lax, but at the same time, you still want them to have that in-game experience to make sure that they know that this game is still important. And like I said, I absolutely expect Cameron Peters, Chase Beeman, Josiah Rockwell, and that defense that the Panthers have basically fielded all year to be strong, and basically shutting down the Delta Devils and getting a win.
Good stuff. Let's move on to next matchup. We already talked about number 5, the Delaware State, playing that South Carolina State team. So we're moving on to number 6, North Carolina Central Eagles, 7-4, 2-2 after a tough home loss. The number 2 South Carolina State Bulldogs. They had Morgan State Bears. They got a big win. They didn't go 0-4, got that over Norfolk State. That was a good matchup. Bears are still fighting. Do Eagles understand the importance of trying to get to 8 wins, closing out the season after a tough loss? Or do you see Bears maybe find a way to get this done? Where are you with this, Wilt?
I see Central getting this win. This is not a team that I would like to think that's going to go out and end their season on 2 back-to-back losses. And it was an emotional loss to South Carolina State. So I definitely think that Trey Oliver will have his guys ready, to go to take the field in this game on Saturday. I absolutely expect Walker Harris to have a strong game. I expect Christian Mosley to dominate. Even though he's, this is an Eagles offense that's going up against a pretty stout Morgan State defense that we've seen, stand tall in different cases and situations. Especially, I think back to that moment against Delaware State where they almost had the win against Delaware State on that in that game. So I'm expecting North Carolina Central to win this game, but I do think it could definitely be a contest for sure.
David, I know you don't say the team's name down. First doing the school down the street. What are your thoughts on the Eagles? Do they get it back in the winning streak, or
why can't they just lose back-to-back games? Why can't they just lose back-to-back games?
I'm asking you. Maybe
one thing I will say about Morgan State, their record doesn't indicate how bad they are. They're not that bad. Like they're a very good football team.
Yeah. They've had 6, maybe 7 games where they lost less than 7.
Yeah, at least 5 for sure.
They've found way, like earlier in the season before A&T was getting 60 dropped on them in consecutive home games. We were that, like we were like in 1 possession games in these CAA matchups.
Right.
And so my biggest concern for Morgan is they lose their focus. Maybe because the big thing that I noticed too is that after we got the win, we just laid a tremendous egg with the next opponent.
Good
right.
point.
So my biggest concern with Morgan is hopefully they can make this an interesting game and not look over themselves and then the school down the road goes down there and drop 50 on them. Like I don't want that to happen to them. It's been a while to see those boys in Durham sitting at 3rd place in the conference. It's been a while. It's been a couple of years since we've seen it. Since pre-pandemic is how long it's been since they've been 3rd in the conference, which is where they're going to sit. So I know they probably want to close this out with a win.
Let's move to the next one. 7 is off this week. They play in the Bayou Classic next week with Grambling. So we're moving on to 8 versus 9 rivalry, another rivalry game. This was in Florida, Orlando. We're going with Mike, as I said. We'll be down there courtesy of Roy, making sure that we can get media passes for this game. We'll put in a little work along with him in terms of SWAC TV. So we're excited about being on location. That's number 8, Florida and Rallies, 5-5, 4-2. They're looking to push forward, get over the 500 mark in terms of this season. Obviously, they tend to close things out here, but they do have that Valley game on Thanksgiving Saturday, if you would, now because it was rescheduled. So they're 4-2 overall, coming off a big victory. You got number 9 Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, 5-6, coming off a tough loss to Jackson State. That's a couple of tough losses. Week before that against Grambling. They're trying to get to 500 to have a solid overall season in terms of where they started from, 4-3. Dave, where are you with this matchup?
This is like Aggie Eagle. Jobs can be had when you don't win this game, and so
Right.
jobs can be had. And Bethune, it's been a little while since Bethune has gotten this one, so I'm picking Bethune here. I'm picking Bethune to take this one because they're due. They're due. They look like the better team. I'm taking Bethune here.
Interesting. Wilton, where are you with this matchup?
This is a
Southern. You pick Southern when they. Are you going to be like maybe a little different here? I want to hear this.
So this is a battle between two teams that's desperately trying to finish with at least a 500 record. When I look at this, in today's point, FAMU has kind of controlled this classic for some time. It's been a while since Bethune-Cookman had, and before I make my pick and the decision, I mean, shout out to Raymond Woody and what he's been able to do with their program this year, because I don't think anybody thought that the Wildcats would be sitting where they are right now. And like I said a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Bethune-Cookman still kind of being in the race to potentially, make moves in the SWAC East. But the reason I'm going to give my edge to FAMU versus Bethune-Cookman is more so of this. And FAMU's averaging 22.6 points per game. Their passing attack has come along strong. But Bethune-Cookman, we know obviously what Cam Ransom can do, strong passing attack, but they're giving up 32.6 points per game. They also gave up like 30 points to Mississippi Valley. So considering that, I think even although this is a neutral site game, I'm going to give the edge to FAMU. I think that this could be the win to Dave's point, not trying to put it out there too much, but this could be that win that saves a certain coach's job. Not saying he's going to get fired, but I think that he at one point in time was definitely on the hot seat. And just based off the play that we were seeing from FAMU, but I think if he gets a win here in the Florida Classic and then takes care of business against Mississippi Valley after that, things could be strong, and it will be a good way for FAMU to end the season. So I got FAMU taking this one.
Yeah, 7-5, 6-2 mark. After everything he went back, you talking about sitting at third spot, back in the top, beating your rival, keeping that streak going. That's a good point when you talk about when you put it all together. I do want to give privilege and talk about the Wildcats and talk about First Take.
Yeah,
great job, well done.
Oh, yeah.
They have probably one of the best fight songs out there.
For sure.
Everybody has to acknowledge that. Maybe not the FAMU. Roy.
No, they acknowledge it too. They just don't want to accept the acknowledgement.
They just don't
want to. They're not going to talk about it, but they know that fight song goes hard. I used to hate it. I used to hate it as an Aggie because you hear it constantly, because that was when they were good.
Yeah, shout out. Valley will beat FAMU, so Cozy better win.
Valley been getting FAMU in a couple sports now. Let's keep it a bean. Keep it a bean.
That's real.
That's true. They do end their season sometimes on a win. Prairie folks know that, but I don't know about this. Anyway, let's go to the next one. We'll break this down. Just acknowledge that Texas Southern has a chance to go 6-6. Bulldogs have been fighting, even though they're down to third, fourth string quarterbacks. Long road trip. Texas Southern has done this before when he got in this place and had a chance to close out strong. Couldn't get it done. Struggled a little bit, but had a big win against Southern to get to 5-6, 4-3. Found a way to get it done. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like coming out of here. And then you have Norfolk State with their last chance to get them a conference win. The Spartans travel to D.C. They're playing Audi for that last game. They're 1-10, 0-4. Howard Bison are 4-3 and 1-3. As the Spartans are looking to see, can they get Vic a conference win, FCS Division I win as well. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what that looks like. Let's take our last break.
Before we go on break, I want to say one quick thing about this game. To the Howard athletic director, please get Howard more home games. They only had 2 this year. Their first one was homecoming. Please. I understand rivalry games are going to be already field, but please let those fan bases get more home games.
Good call. I can't argue against it. Certainly understand the rationale, but got to find a way to mix it up. Still play some at the Audi, do what you need to do in terms of those big matchups. We got to find a way to get a couple of more games at home, scheduling-wise, particularly even if it's nothing else during those non-conference games. You can find a way to get some of those at home. With that being said, let's take our last break. Come back on the other side, talk a little bit in terms of these playoff matchups at the mid-major level, and then we'll call it a show. We'll be right back after this last break.
Greetings, Panthers. My name is Roland Austin, and I'm one of the directors at the 1876 Athletic Foundation. The 1876 Athletic Foundation was formed to promote the success of all 343 student athletes. Our overall goal is to fund scholarships for all of our student athletes. We ask that you help us in achieving this goal by donating to the 1876 Athletic Foundation via the QR code below or 1876.foundation. Your generous donation will help us continue to assist the needs of all of our Panther athletes. Thanks, and go Panthers.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image. A Kenny T's company.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year, a title reserved for elite HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 12th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be examined by the toughest judges in the world of college bands. 4 will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us in Atlanta on December 12th for event and ticket information. Visit Band of the Year.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I'm gonna list all these games and then allow you to pick out 2 of them that has the most of your interest, and you can go to a third one if you would like. But just tell me why it has your interest and what do you think about it in terms of the matchups. The first one, we'll talk about our number 1 ranked team in the mid-major rankings, which is Albany State. They're also number 1 in their region in terms of the playoff seeding. They have Valdosta State Blazers. Anybody that follows Division II, particular HBCU programs in the playoffs, knows what Valdosta State Blazers. For those that don't but follow at the major level, you probably heard of the name Valdosta State because Jackson, that is current football coach at Prairie View A&M University, was coaching at Valdosta State last year and took him to the NCAA Division II championship game. The Blazers come in at 6-4, 3-0. For those that are not familiar, yes, that is correct. You pick on maybe the MEAC in terms of having 6 conference members. Well, the Gulf South Conference only has 4 conference members right now. Some of them have left to the Carolina Conference, and others have moved up to the FCS Division I in terms of that. So, more importantly, Albany State Golden Rams 10-1, 8-0 out of the SIAC. Solid season. A lot of folks have paid attention to them, particularly the Rattlers, with Gray being the quarterback there. They did a lot of work, playoffs included, in terms of on the field when he was a Rattler, and he took his Golden Rams to Tallahassee. Played really well for a half, but not get it done. That's where one of the losses is actually to a FCS program. With that being said, another matchup is number 4 Benedict Tigers, 9-2, 7-1. People have followed Benedict Tigers for a while, particularly when Chennis Berry was coaching that team and took Benedict out of nowhere. Undefeated seasons, 2 of them there when he got things rolling for the Tigers. They fell off last year, but they're back in the business playing for an SIAC championship game, tied with the second best record in the conference, which includes Kentucky State, which we'll talk maybe a little bit also in terms of them being in the playoffs. Number 4 in our overall rankings, but they play a number 4 ranked team in that bracket, which is the Wingate Bulldogs. Both teams come in at 9-2. The Tigers are 7-1 after their conference play with the Bulldogs coming in with a conference record of 7-2 out of the SAC. Next matchup is a Mountain East team, Frostburg State Bobcats, which takes us with a CIAA team, which the Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls can't give them enough accolades. Coach Flowers over there, what he's able to do, 10-1, which included a CIAA championship, 6-1, getting a little payback against Virginia Union Panthers when most people didn't think it. We have them ranked number 2 overall in our rankings in terms of what that looks like. So you have them playing at home. They're number 2 in that bracket in terms of the playoff seeding. But you have a Frostburg team coming out of the Mountain East. The Bobcats are 9-2, 7-1. We'll face off the Golden Bulls 10-1, 6-1. It'll be interesting to see, can they add a playoff to the historical season they have that we hadn't seen in those parts in some of it in our lifetime. With that being said, we move into the next matchup, which is the 4th of 5 matchups since we have 5 HBCUs in the playoffs this year at the Division II level. This one features California. That's California out of Pennsylvania. Vulcans come in at 8-3, 3-3. They're at Virginia Union Panthers that have a nice playoff run and actually lost to that Valdosta State team that also beat Miles in terms of their run that they had, where you see coaching changes, make playoffs run. Oftentimes at the HBCU level, it's enough to give you a chance to see you at the FCS level. We'll see if that happens to any of these coaches, but a little more work to do in the playoffs. They come in, Virginia Unions are ranked 3 overall, but they're also 3 in the playoff seedings. Interesting how our rankings corresponded with some rankings in the seeding so far. The Panthers closed out the season with a tough loss in the CIAA championship, but still earned the playoff bid. They're 9-2 after going undefeated in the regular season. Last one we have on the ledger is Kentucky State Thoroughbreds having a season that no one expected, including what many thought should have been a win over Grambling State. But that's past history. They got a big win as you had the SIAC with the Carolina Conference matchup. Shout out to Dr. Holloman. A lot of people believe that was the thing that got them in. The record is actually 9-2, 7-1, as I said, tied in second place with Benedict. They did not have a head-to-head, but tiebreakers pushed Benedict into the matchup against Albany State. They got there when Kentucky State Thoroughbreds last week. They face off a number 3 playoff seeded team, Newberry Wolves, out of the SAC, 9-1, 8-1. And as you see, we do have Kentucky State ranked 5th in our rankings as they actually pushed up and got into the 4th slot after Benedict's loss. With that being said, starting with you, David, what of those 5, what stands out to you? Are there a couple of games that you have interest in seeing how it goes, trying to take a sneak peek or watching the games, or certainly looking at who's able to get out of those games? And then I'll bring it to you, Wilton.
Okay.
Albany State versus Valdosta State is the one I'm intrigued by, because Valdosta State, man, they're known as like the HBCU killers. They always take us out in these in the D2 playoffs, and we're overdue to take them out for a change. Knocking them out in the first round would be a beautiful thing to see. So I'm going with that. And I think Quinn Gray is going to bring his boys out there and get it done.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Is he still interviewing, or is he going to have a couple?
I'm pretty sure he's going to be interviewing. I don't blame him. I would be interviewing too.
Yep.
There's gonna be some jobs available after Saturday.
Yep.
Interesting. Good point. I just had to put it out there. He certainly has done his part. Wilton Jackson.
But we want the interview. We want the interviews to be virtual, because that means he's winning. We want the interviews to be virtual.
Right. That's right. Good point. Wilton.
So, like Dave, Albany State, Valdosta State is definitely on my radar of one to watch. We've seen the incredible season Albany State has had on the field. I hope that people don't get the record for Valdosta State being 6-4 as a slight to them. They also still playing in one of the toughest conferences in D2 football, especially with dealing with like high-powered offenses, and that's what Albany State presents. So I think that I would like to see today's point. I would like to see Albany State go ahead and put Valdosta State out, but I do think it's going to be a tough matchup. I also think that Isaiah Knowles has to have close to a perfect game, and for him to have somewhat of or close to a perfect game, it's going to start with Albany State's front seven. They're going to have to be locked and loaded and ready to basically protect their quarterback. Something to think about when it comes to Valdosta State, they have a strong secondary, so Knowles definitely has to be smart in his decisions and when he puts the ball in the air. So that's one of them. That's one of the matchups. And then that Johnson C. Smith matchup against Frostburg State. Intrigued by
same
that.
One I was gonna pick. The same one I was gonna pick, man.
Yeah, like that matchup has me intrigued. I love the way that Coach Flowers has really, gathered this Johnson C. Smith team. Again, a year ago they were in an interesting spot, or nearly the same spot. This year they got over the hump to end the season. They come out, win the CIAA, and now they get a chance to really show off like what they've been able to do all season, and whether that's the play that we're talking about from Kelvin Durham, but then also I think the key in this game for them is really going to be the ground game with Bobby Smith. Can they establish that against Frostburg State? And I think that their chances of doing that, if they can do that, they have a chance of winning this game. So that's one also that I have my eyes on as well.
Yeah, one of the receivers for Johnson C. Smith decided to hop into the portal, which is disappointing but understandable.
Yeah.
So I hope that's not that big of a factor in this game. But this is another game I'm putting on the radar because Johnson C. Smith ain't been here, man. So I'm intrigued by this. Off that alone, I'm intrigued.
Good stuff. With that being said, any last thoughts? I'll take you, Wilton, and then David, in terms of as we start to close up the season, some big games we have coming out here. What are your thoughts, Wilton, in terms of this weekend to kind of close out the regular season for most teams, particularly with these rivalry games? We do get spoiled in the SWAC where we have next week, where we have a couple of more that we will get into at that time. But what are your final thoughts?
Doc, it's been a really good year of football, man. When you think about like the MEAC, and again, none of us probably thought Delaware State would be where they are, and the job Deshaun Jackson has done as head coach, obviously the assembling the staff that he put together. But I don't think anybody saw at MEAC Media Day that we would be sitting here on November 20th saying, hey, Delaware State's going to be in contention for winning a MEAC title. I know personally I didn't have that on my bingo card, but to see them be at this point, getting ready to face a South Carolina State team led by Chennis Berry as the head coach, I'm really excited to see, and we'll know the champion after that game. Either way it goes, I'm excited to see what both of those teams could potentially look like in a Celebration Bowl standpoint. I think from the SWAC, it's really intriguing this year. We got a chance to see, even before the season started, Tremaine Jackson, he came in saying that he wanted his team to compete in a SWAC championship. And so he's there. He's done half of the job. He has to, of course, still win the SWAC championship to potentially play in the Celebration Bowl. And I think that having talked to Coach Taylor at Jackson State, he wants to go down as one of the legendary coaches to ever come through, not just Jackson State, but HBCUs, period. So he's on a case to do that. Should Jackson State take care of Alcorn and get to the SWAC championship and potentially beat Prairie View to, get to the Celebration Bowl again, 2 times of something that Coach Prime couldn't do when he was at Jackson State. So I just really think that we're going to get a lot of great football this weekend. And even in the playoffs, I'm hoping that at least maybe 1 or 2 of the HBCUs that are competing in the Division II playoffs will get wins this weekend.
Before I go to you, Dave, for your final thoughts and kind of wrap it up too, Wilton, to your points there, TC Taylor, that's people Jackson see Jackson State as a blue blood program, right?
Yeah.
And you think about legendary coaches, particularly legendary coach, have they had back-to-back championships?
Yes, they have.
And he's about to line up with some of the legendary coaches in terms of what that looks like. And obviously those coaches didn't have the benefit of playing in a official championship bowl game. So
right.
That is another legend. And yeah, you're right. You're talking about right there embarking on history. And more importantly, what that puts him with the current group of great coaches that you alluded to. Some really good coaches, a couple of them checking off the boxes with their own championship. It's fascinating when you find a way maybe to get a leg up and start looking at where Broadway, those coaches up with 2 championships.
Sam Washington. And
Yep, that's another one I was thinking
And
about.
in terms of what he was able to do, 2 championships. Obviously, most A&T folks look at that before, but that was 2 coaches. So,
4 and 3 and 3 in a row. 3 in a
Yeah.
row. We got to don't forget the 3 in a row.
So he got to get this first one, and then at least we can revisit it if they can get it done. So, yeah, it's a lot on the line in terms of closing out this season. Obviously, I'd imagine if I know anything about T.C. Taylor, he's all worried about the game on Saturday. He'll let y'all talk about all this other stuff. But, David, after Wilton broke it down with some great comments to close it up, what are your thoughts? Chance to kind of close up the season. You didn't get to do that on the Wednesday show yesterday because you had other things that took it out. And I'm sure you'll come back and visit this. But if you share with us at this point, how do you kind of put in the package this football season?
As an Aggie fan, it exceeded my expectations for the A&T football team. But when we talk about the MEAC, we might have a scenario where a first-year head coach wins the MEAC in consecutive years.
Yeah.
If Delaware State pulls this off, either we're going to have Delaware State do it again. I expect Deshaun Jackson to win Coach of the Year regardless of the result on Saturday, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But then we're going to have Chennis.
Makes a strong case for it.
Yeah, like I think it should be a no-brainer. I think we can argue if Chennis wins, if the South Carolina State wins, but I think nobody saw what Deshaun Jackson did.
No.
Like nobody. Except for him. Maybe him.
It's a no-brainer. Right? You certainly could see if they go with Chennis. Because on the other side, you have a fact that he
hasn't lost a conference game in 4 years.
Right. Game in 4 years. Yeah. So either way, there's going to be some big things that you can write about in this matchup, getting it back to. So that's wild when you think about what he's able to do in terms of 4 straight years postseason play. If he gets that done, that's ooh-wee.
I mean, the MEAC, it wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time the MEAC gave the Coach of the Year of a team to a coach that didn't go undefeated in their conference. It wouldn't be the first time of them doing it. It wouldn't be a precedent set.
You have a chance. This is a year where you have a chance to have 2 new entrants into this Creation Bowl. Prairie View and Delaware State are on the edge, cusp of that. So yeah, it's big time. A lot of different things that happened in this season, and then you could have it with 2 first-year coaches. Prairie View. You could have a championship with 2 Division II coaches coming into there. So a lot of fascinating when you think about what that looks like. Wilton said he want to hear about none of that.
Because that you weren't included in none of the equations, Wilton.
He said, I told you when I want to see the first part.
But what we could do, we'll have Jackson State and South Carolina State for the 3rd time in that bowl game.
Yep.
Which they'll match A&T and Alcorn, and people are gonna get sick of seeing y'all. That's what they do.
Yep.
Get sick of
they will.
They're gonna get sick of seeing the same matchup.
I ain't gonna lie, because I don't dislike A&T, but I kind of got tired of seeing A&T and Alcorn.
Grambling kind of changed it up a bit, but after that, it was, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm intrigued to see a different matchup, but I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we see Jackson State, South Carolina State again. But it'll be intriguing to see if Jacoby Morgan gets back in time. So there's a lot of other factors involved that are making it a lot more intriguing if it is a 3rd round for that.
Exactly.
I want to give a shout out also Instagram. Somebody went back and did the matchups in terms of what would a postseason ball game look like at they said Division II mid-major level between the CIAA SIAC. They went back with the champions from 2019. Obviously skipped a year with COVID because Division II didn't play. But that was intriguing to, one, have a history lesson, get some dialogue between those fans before they get into the playoffs in terms of representing their conference. And you're seeing a little more of that as both of the commissioners of the CIAA SIAC have been able to create those matchups at the beginning of the year. Obviously, this will be the 2nd consecutive year where the champions will kick off things in the Black College Hall of Fame Classic. Fascinating, but they also had those 6 other games that had 7 matchups between the CIAA SIC. So that's fascinating to see how that looks like. And seems like a little bit of energy is there. The other thing that I'll close on this, we don't have to talk about it. We'll push this to next week, but I want to tease it out. If Jackson State wins on Saturday, it means again you could potentially have a 10-win team in Alabama State. What would that look like in terms of a matchup with North Carolina Central? They're able to get the win and get to that 8 postseason bowl matchup. Obviously, this would be further into the bowl season after everything is settled. But what would be the interest of a bowl game between those? Do you have essentially you have a de facto championship game in the MEAC? So whoever loses that, whether it be Delaware State and Prairie View in terms of a matchup in the bowl game, or if it would be a South Carolina State, Jackson State game with the other 2 playing in the kickoff, would people still have an interest in that type of matchup? So a lot of things there, fascinating. I guess we can't keep out Grambling. They can win in the Bayou Classic. They get to that 8 wins, so it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like. So you're starting to have teams that are getting ways to get more non-conference wins, getting those records up. Is it time to look at postseason for more teams outside of that, more bowl games, see what that looks like. With that being said, let's close it out right here. This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I want to thank you for listening to HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and our colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, come from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Today we had none other than Wilton Jackson II and David L. Rhodes pushing us through for another great show. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. And Sunday, we'll be back to give you updates how things closed out this week. There's bids on the line. We'll see what it looks like in terms of that. There's championships trophies on the line. It'll be fascinating to talk about it Saturday morning. We'll be here. Hope you're here with us at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's Threads, Facebook, and Instagram, DrKenyattacavil. I'm going to go see if I can find Mike, see if he will give a brother that came all this way. Check him out in Philadelphia, see if he'll get a chance to give me some time of the day. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. See how your brothers do your day.
Left you hanging.
Cold-blooded. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We'll talk with you soon. Wilton.
Of course.
David.
Lecture.
Dismiss.